Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming to this presentation. I hope you really had a good coffee break. I know it's a bit late in the afternoon, but try to pay attention for next 30 minutes because what I'm going to explain you might use on your daily work and might improve the quality of your work. So that's why we are all here. We are involved in the QA process. So yeah. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Nicolae Oprean. I work as a QA technical expert at ULING. I obtained a PhD in computer science. I started working as a programmer, and then I switched field as on client service, and in the end I came up to QA. I can tell you that QA is the most challenging one if you are making it this way, because otherwise might get boring. And why it's challenging? Because you are doing also programming if you are involved in the automation. You are doing also client service if you are involved in validating client scenarios, and if you have bugs reports from clients and you have to do ping pong with the clients and so on. The company I work for has over 500 employees around the world. We are involved in providing trading solutions for financial markets. And we have 10 different offices, and we use Agile, and we offer our own software solutions, and we provide support for them. But enough talking about the company I work for. You are here for a new process that we implemented on the company. And this process proved to be working quite well. In the next minutes, I will tell you, we'll discuss about code review process, how we implemented it what were the initial problems we faced when we decided to focus on automation, how we implemented the code review, what are the benefits of using code review, some rules that we applied for code review, Git and Gerrit integration, the foreman role and the way we implemented it in the company. This is a new notion, and some review tips. Let me tell you something. You've heard here and on different presentations that a lot of good stuff. I know that I've attended the Steve presentation this morning, also the one by Steven made on test manager role, and the last one with Lilia. And this is actually a good continuation for Lilia's presentation. And I can tell you that there is no perfect recipe. Might or might not apply at your company, things that you hear here, but it depends a lot on the project type you are having. It depends on the period of time of your project, the business you are using, and the technology. So parts of the things that you hear can be implemented, parts cannot. But from what I will tell you, I think it can be used some interesting parts of it. Let me tell you, let me ask a question. How many of you are involved in the test automation on a daily basis? Wow, nice. And how many of you are doing code review? Perfect. So yeah, quite a lot of you. So, sorry? Okay, so when I initially joined the company, like more than 6 years back, we had about 200 manual test cases, and they were stored in Excel files. And obviously, we figured out that was not enough coverage, so we started writing some more test cases. 1 year later, we ended up with a portfolio of over 1,000 test cases. Then we faced another problem. We did not have enough time to run all of them manually before every new release. So then we decided to focus on automation. We extracted the test set of 100 test cases, and we said, okay, let's start automating these test cases. 5 QA started automating those test cases. We had to build the framework, we had to build the common libraries, common functions, then with business library, and then the test cases itself to automate them. What this brought to us, different programming styles, which led to a fragile and hard to maintain code base. And then we were thinking, what else could we do to improve this? We said we should start documenting a set of best practices inside the Confluence used by developed by Atlassian. But this led to nobody was there to supervise adhering to guidelines. So we decided to do formal code review. Well, code review, you know already the definition, is the discipline of discussing your code with your peers. So we started looking at each other code by doing peer programming, but you know, doing peer programming is not always, you know, the colleague is not always available, or you want to do it fast, and you don't have anyone looking at it. So we said, okay, let's try to send the lines of code change, or the script send it by email, so that whenever somebody has some free time, please take a look at the code and see and provide an input. This still approach was silent information, so was not the best approach. So then we thought, what else to do? So we said, okay, let's try to use some tools. Then we figured out that we could use Gerrit and integrate it with Git. So Gerrit is one of many review tools, and Git is one of the most common source control system. But at that point, the reviews were done only by QAs. QAs are good for doing code review, but not the best ones. So we requested help several times from development. So collaboration between QAs and devs brought us to the next level. And I think the code review reach is maturity, integrating devs into the code review process. Because they help us into finding improved solutions and develop the QA programming skills. We started organizing some brown bag launch sessions where we watched some technical videos. Then when we finished looking at all the technical videos, then we started some hands-on labs where we proposed different problems, and we tried together doing brainstorming sessions to find the best solution for it. So that was a very interesting, and it's an ongoing process. We are still doing it every Thursday, and this helped us a lot improving our skills as programmers, because in the end, on test automation, we are all programmers. So I will go ahead over the current QA review process, where both QAs and developers review test automation code. This brings us to, we've heard like twice today, cross-functional teams. This is an attribute of Scrum, and it means that QA and devs work together throughout all the phases of the project. We don't have programmers being a separate entity where the output of programmers is the input for QAs and so on. So they don't care anymore because it's QA stuff. No, we all have the same sprint. We all we do a sprint planning where we establish what stories will be added in current sprint. We have QA stories like automation on the one side, and on the other hand we have the developer stories where we have tasks for QA, being the manual validation, but also automation. Focus also some tasks for automation to change the existing test cases or to create new ones. Test automation code is damp and dry. These two acronyms, I don't know if you know what they mean. Anyone? Damp comes from detailed and meaningful phrases. So prefer human readable code instead of I don't know, name of the function, very simplistic, or name of variables. Okay, and don't repeat yourself, which is dry. If you have parts that repeat, usually a common mistake is just to copy paste code from one side to the other, is extract those parts into separate functions and try to reuse them. So and another thing is 3D interaction between QA teams. The way QA is structured on my company is we have the first level is the unit testing. The second level is product validation, where we have about 7-8 teams, different teams. Then we have on the third level, we have the integration testing, where all the extensions are placed together and see if everything still works. And then we have the fourth level, which is client validation, where we have the client scenarios and we see that everything is working fine before moving into production. So we have level 2, where I'm placed, and we do review at each other code from the same from the teams at the same level. And then we have level 3 and level 4. We all do review to each other because we have the common functions and common libraries which are changed by someone and might broke things for others. So we review, and this brings us to the three-level integration. Now, we talk about code review, but why we do code review? Obviously, you will say to find bugs. Okay, we'll find bugs because more pair of eyes are looking at the same lines of code, but the level of QA we get from code review is not the level we expect. And why is that? Because we just see a slice of the Git change. We don't have the whole background of the functional change, if something change on functionality and so on. And try to listen carefully to this, because this is the most important part. So code review for me is a primary way to get better at the work, because you will have functional knowledge transfer, improved knowledge for both the reviewer and the reviewee, share knowledge of best practices, development best practices, from grounded best practices to useful tips. Then we have shared knowledge on functionality. No one is the only person that knows a specific area of code. And this brings us to the buzz factor. Have you heard about buzz factor? Buzz factor, for those of you that didn't hear about it, is the minimum number of people that have to suddenly disappear from the project so that the project collapses due to lack of expertise. So imagine only one person knows a specific area of code. So that means you have a buzz factor of 1. If that person, something happens with him, like is hit by a bus, that's why we have a buzz factor. It has an accident, or maybe he's quitting his job, he's leaving the company. So your project might be in big trouble. So sharing the knowledge between the team members, it will increase the buzz factor, and this is one of important things to do. And increase team awareness. The team is more aware about what's going on around them. So what are other teams doing? What changes are taking place? So we have visibility. Then we have the technical knowledge transfer, being exposed to alternative solutions. For example, like using callbacks. improve the code quality. This translates to newcomers being able to contribute really fast to the code base. Issues are fixed faster by anyone because the code is very maintainable. And obviously we have two pair of eyes looking over lines of code. It detects bugs earlier on, leading to a reduced cost for fixing them. Let me tell you a few words about the rules that we applied for code review. So we implemented a feedback system where we provide marks from -2 to +2, where -2 means this change shall not be merged. The code is incorrect or buggy or broken, cannot be submitted the way it is. Usually the guy that committed has to find an alternate solution. Then -1, I would prefer not to be merged as it is. I don't like what you created, but I'm willing to live with it if somebody else approves it. 0 means that I review the code partially or in full. I don't have an opinion yet. Usually refers to when there are questions asked or additional clarifications on the code or proposed solutions. And +1, we have code looks good to me, but someone else needs to approve it. And we have the +2, where review looks okay to me, approved. Now this option, the last one, is only available to foremen. We call them foremen, like in construction site. I will explain this notion a bit later. We also have this rule that you need at least 3 +1s before, and no -2, -1, obviously. So at least 3 +1s before your change to be submitted. So before a reviewer come and put and give a +2. The whole process can be summarized in the following schema. So we have the author that creates the draft. The author publishes the draft. The change is submitted. Then at the same time, we have 3 processes going, starting. We have the review bot that checks is built in house, checks the grammar, the syntactical problems. It checks the trailing white spaces. Then we have the builder that runs on Jenkins and that checks that we didn't broke the code base. And we have the reviewers, the programmers that are starting to do code review. As I mentioned, we need at least 3 +1s. If any of these 3 will fail, then the whole process has to start all over again, and the author has to do another submit. When the code is approved, so +2 is given, then we have the +2, and only at that point the author submit is changed. Now I will show you a snapshot on code review results. So they look like this. So Gerrit dashboard looks like this, where we can see the changes made by different people. As you can see, with the big red X is marked the -2, where we have, for example, here we have also the review bot, but also one of the colleagues providing a -2. Then we have the -1 highlighted with -1. We have the +1s, and then we have the ones that are validated, so like this one, and can be submitted on the branch. Here you will see also the size of the commit as is bigger than 300 lines of code. It's highlighted in red. So usually when that happens, you are asked to split it into smaller chunks. So let me summarize for you a bit what we discussed so far. So we talked about the initial problem we faced when we decided to focus on automation, when we started implementing the code review process, and seeing the benefits of the code review. So now let me tell you a few words about the foreman. So Robert Martin, also known as Uncle Bob, is the co-author of Agile Manifesto, where he explained that a set of principles for software development under which requirements and solution evolve through common effort. So he came up with the idea of foreman. So in a construction site, the foreman is the guy that goes around and makes sure that all the things are done right. He's the guy with the tape measure that measure the walls that are properly placed, the guy who takes responsibility, who take the final decision. So without a good foreman, construction site would fall apart. So the same way we could put the foreman notion on development. So we need a person, not necessarily the guy with the most experience, but the one that takes responsibility and makes sure that things are done properly. So this foreman comes in place and provides the +2 that I showed you earlier. Let me show you how we implemented this concept within our company. So we introduced the pre-merge code review tool, Gerrit. Then we started off with a small number of foremen. Initially we started with experienced developers, but then this changed as the people that were doing more code review than others and the correct ones were upgraded to foremen. We encourage people to do as much code review as possible across different projects, not only the one that you are working on and not only the extension you are working on, but to have a better view over all of the others. Then when a quality and the quantity threshold was reached, people got appointed foremen. I wanted to highlight that this process is a self-obviating system. So what this means, it means that it will reach its goal and it will render itself useless. The goal is to have everyone be a foreman. So everyone should have the skills necessary to validate a commit. When that will happen, then this process is no longer needed. Let me show you how the number of foremen varied in time on my company. So we started like 2.5 years back. And as you can see, the increase of number of foremen is quite slow. So what you see here with the arrow is the first QA that became a foreman. So after 1.5 years, we had the first QA that reached the level necessary to become a foreman. Then we had some others, and now currently we have about 5-6 QAs that are foremen out of 50 QAs on my company. One note, in my company, like almost every QA is doing automation. So even if it's not doing it at beginning when they are still on the training period, let's say, so the first 3 months, but afterwards they will start doing and attend to the training session and so on. Of course, this process is not perfect. It got its own downsides. And let me highlight some of them. So we had lots of reviews to be approved by a few people. So that's why we started asking more and more people to do code review, to be something that we have to do it on a daily basis. The length of the process, some initial reluctance and frustration brought by the length of the process, because this delayed the delivery time, and but was something that was agreed even at the management level. So was agreed that okay, we will delay a bit of the releases, but we'll have on the other hand a better code quality, and this is more important. And coding rules and standards crystallized, and more people were doing code review, but with still persisting frustration for some people, because they were not used to have their own code to be reviewed by those many people, and you know your personal coding style is discussed and rediscussed a lot, and this brings a big of frustration for some people. We even had people that left the company. But yeah, in the end, it proves to be a good process. As we continuously try to evolve, we enhance the whole process, and we did some tool improvement. And as I said, we did the Gerrit dashboard that displays the size of the commit. If it's too big, we highlight it in red. Integration with Slack. Visibility on Slack channels. Probably you are using Slack. So whenever somebody commits something, the commit is visible on Slack. You have also additional information like the owner of the commit. You have the size of the commit, how many lines of code. You have even existing +1s or +2, and the link to the Jira. And we also implemented a funny thing that is a give cat. Punish self-reviewers. If someone gives a +1 or +2 to its own commit, then a give cat is displayed to everyone. So he should be ashamed of that. In what follows, let me give you some review tips that we learned. So try to criticize the code, not the writer. Be kind to the coder, but not the code. Ask questions rather than make statements. Avoid the why questions because they are perceived in a very negative way. Remember that there are often more than one solution or more than one approach for a solution. Don't forget to praise. We introduced a like button. Whenever you see a commit that is nice and you think is useful for other guys in the company, try to praise what a great job you did or so. Make a proposition instead of saying that the code is bad. You shouldn't rush into code review, but do it promptly because that person needs it. He wants to commit the code. Format your comments to be clean and readable. It's useful for whoever reads your review to understand exactly what you wanted. Propose solutions. And identify and help people that can improve. Usually refers to newcomers that they are not used with the whole process, the review process. So try to get them up to speed and propose solution and alternate solution. And everyone should embrace this process. It's not something that only senior developers should do, but all of us together in order in the end to increase the code quality. If you follow all these tips, you will soon notice that you implemented without even knowing it a set of language agnostic rules. A patch must be small and relate to a single work unit. A class or method should have a single responsibility. So, as I mentioned before, you have to extract part that can be reused. Methods must be clear and readable, and code must be clean. Some of the lessons we learned from code review can be summarized as follows. So, create an environment that is based on that is centered around the discussion, technical discussions. Try to ask Daniel, how many times you've seen a code that is you don't understand what is going on over there, and first impression is to say, what the fuck did you have created here? So try to avoid that because it's not pleasant, and maybe that person will get upset, and maybe at someday you will need that person to help you back, so it's not okay. So what do you think about, as opposed to you need to do this right now? Did you consider, as opposed to why didn't you implement it this way, or can you clarify instead of anything else? So yeah, try to use such questions to ask for clarification, to understand what the code created means. Try to avoid negativity. So when you put a question like, why didn't you just, if you see these two words, why and just, they are perceived very negative. So try to extract those words from the sentence, and you already see a better question. So ask questions, but make sure how you ask it. What to review? So best practices, so naming, style conventions, curly braces, indentations, semicolons, and so on. Try to review the functionality, and then try to review the complexity. Follow the single responsibility principle. And try to sustain a strong code review culture, because that will bring you a better code, a better developers, team ownership, and healthy debate. In summary, I suggest you to use an automated code review tool. We use Gerrit, but you can use any other tool, and integrate it with Git. Try to do code review together with developers. You know that always developers have better experience than us on programming, and they can come with improved technical solutions. This will increase the technical knowledge. Try to follow the damp and dry principles. Use the single responsibility from solid principles. Increase the buzz factor, I mentioned before. Shorten feedback loops. Reduce costs by having fast feedback and faster repairs. Maintain lesson learned. Try to document, create conference pages where you put a set of best practices. And most important, share knowledge with others. It's not something, if you're sharing with others, then that will be brought back for future, because newcomers are evolving, colleagues are evolving, so this brings us to, in the end, better code, better quality. So we all want that. So I think that's it. If you have any questions.